So it is the beginning of a new year, and maybe you are a few weeks in to a commitment to give less of your money to giant corporations. Or maybe it's to stop buying clothes, or just to try and slow down the never-ending cycle of consumerism and capitalism that's trying to eat away at every moment and niche of our lives.
The backpack that the shooter was wearing sold out because in America, everything is an ad, including murder.
Yeah, maybe you, like me, grew up in a culture that said you should be smaller and you should take up less space. You should be quiet and diet. But like, didn't we climb our way out of diet culture? Wasn't that like already a thing that we did? We did science. We learned that weight loss leads to broken hips and dementia. We got these dietitians teaching us to add, not subtract.
You want to focus on adding, not subtracting, which means you want to focus on what you can add to your diet instead of what you want to take away.
But now here you are, sitting with on one hand this goal of spending less and consuming less and having less environmental impact and not exploiting people, alongside the knowledge and experience that restrictive diets lead to binge eating and damage our long-term health. Just like diets, budgets, and I'm going to quote here, set you up to look for what you're doing wrong instead of what's wrong with the culture around you. It keeps you from asking questions and talking about financial struggles, so you feel isolated and ashamed of them. My feed is crammed with posts by people talking about no-buy challenges and low-buy challenges and no-buy 2025, and shopping less and underconsumption and just generally doing less, which I want to be clear, all of which I'm totally here to support. I have been doing low-buy for 12 years. I didn't realize there was a name for it, but like it has been happening. But the problem I'm seeing is that all of these posts and videos of people talking about their low buy goals talk about what they're not buying, what they're not doing, what they're not engaging in. People talk about what they're cutting out. And it's a great place to start, but as I've learned over the last 12 years of doing this, no buy isn't a budget. No buy is not a restrictive diet where you just stop doing certain things. It isn't about cutting out carbs or shopping. It's about building skills. Because what is capitalism if not a mechanism for de-skilling some people, trap them in a cycle of insatiable need because they never make things themselves, while also outsourcing the production of goods overseas to exploited, air quotes here, low-skill labor. Here, workers are paid pennies for their labor. We know this. So de-skilling some and devaluing the skill of others leaves all of us permanently craving more. We are famished for craftsmanship, for contribution, and for connection. So to make low buy a lifestyle change and not a diet. So here are the 5 skills I think we all need to practice. Skill 1 is to know your why. My conscious journey, my like, oh, some shit is going down, and I have to make choices right now about how I support or interact with that shit, that started April 24th, 2013. That is the day of the garment factory collapse in Rana Plaza in Bangladesh. 1,134 people died and more than 2,000 were injured. It was the deadliest garment factory disaster in history. And this factory manufactured goods for tons of brands. Primark, Walmart, Zara, so many. I couldn't help people there. I couldn't prevent it. I couldn't force the garment industry to take safety or security or sustainability seriously. So I just decided, full boycott. I'm not gonna buy any clothes. No new garments, no secondhand garments. I didn't even buy fabric. I would just wear what I had, and when I needed something, I would make it. Did I know how to sew? No. That was my why. I started with garments. That was my why. I didn't want to exploit people. I didn't want to participate in factories murdering people at their jobs. From there, I expanded out into art materials and food and hair care and furniture and like tons of other stuff, but not everybody is going to start in the same place. So you have to know what your why is, so that later on when you get frustrated or bored or something, like you can come back to this reason and be like, oh, right, this is why I'm doing this. So some folks are overwhelmed with stuff. Some are struggling with like emotional shopping. Some are focused on not exploiting people. There isn't one like best reason to do it, but knowing why you want to do it and reinforcing that why over and over again will really help you make decisions later on. Okay, skill number 2 is mapping available resources. So I grew up poor, like food stamps poor, which really gives me a head start on like the creativity, the ingenuity, the resourcefulness, all of those things that really help you be low buy, under consumption long term. I live in a city with great public libraries, with strong Craigslist culture, with food banks and outdoor space and community maker spaces where you can try using a saw or you try using a laser cutter, try using a sewing machine. And I have a ton of existing tools for making. I have sewing machines, I have wood tools, I have bike tools, we have cooking equipment, we have computers. That's just tools for making things that we need. And also mapping skills. When I started doing this, I had no idea how to sew, so that was sort of like mapping out like, oh, this is a big gap you're gonna have to learn how to do if you wanna do this long term. Similarly, when we switched to bikes, my partner just taught himself to be an expert bike mechanic. Mapping the skills and resources you already have access to gives you an overview of like areas of potential and gaps, but this mapping skill can also be expanded out to help with the resources and skills of family members, friends, whole communities, and helping other people like understand how their maps overlap. But I'll talk about that more in a second. Skill 3 is start making stuff you need, even if it's badly. Some of the first garments that I made for myself were, let's go with utter trash. Not good, not high quality, not durable, fell apart, didn't fit me, tore. All the things. But I learned a skill that would replace shopping in this one area of my life. And because there's so many skills that can go into boycotting, it's good to just start with one. Like if you just want to focus on cooking or you just want to focus on sewing, whatever the area is that you're not buying. So I had to learn to mend existing garments. I had to learn to source unwanted fabric because again, I also don't buy fabric. I had to learn to store fabric and I had to design clothing that would fit me and that I liked. For my spouse, when we switched to bikes, he had to learn all of the ins and outs of bike maintenance and also bike building, how to build wheels, how to do tires, how to do, I don't even know all the words for all these things. As you learn this skill, it helps focus the shopping that you will need to do on the tools that you need to like further your skill. So you'll be focusing on like tools and ingredients. As we weaned off of restaurants and like pre-made meals, we practiced cooking, buying in bulk, sourcing, having the right equipment, having the right storage. And the best part for me about this learning process of like doing it even though you're doing it badly is that over time it makes it easier to expand those skills into other areas of your life. Okay, number 4, and I actually think this one is the hardest, is that community is a skill. But wait, before you get like some nasty, individualistic, ableist, you have to do everything yourself and go off grid and be a real man and rely on no one and be an island, like that is not what I'm saying. Every skill you learn is also something that you can use in community. This can be with family. I mend my partner's clothes and he maintains my bike. I edit documentaries and event films for my friends. It can be in cultural communities. I make posters and design banners for my synagogue. You can't do everything yourself. No one can. That's like a wildly ableist assumption that for some reason American culture is just like obsessed with. Even resource mapping itself, remember back in skill number 2, even resource mapping is a super useful skill to use in community. Understanding what resources people have, what skills they have, and how those might like work together with other skills in the community is a great way to serve people. I'm not particularly good at like knowing these like overlapping intricacies of community, but I am good at other kinds of skills that connectors can use to like build larger projects. And skill number 5, last one, is to iterate. So I started this whole underconsumption process in 2013 with Rana Plaza collapse. But in 2021, it was widely reported that Amazon workers were routinely being denied bathroom breaks, being forced to poop in a bag at their job. And I was like, actually, no, actually boycott. And it was so much easier to do this because we both had already been building up the skills of alternative sourcing, limiting shopping, choosing less convenient ways of doing things, making choices explicitly to avoid contributing to exploitation. And we just expanded those skills into household goods and other items. I was able to look at my current rules, assess the outcomes, and add in this new knowledge about Amazon and change my approach. Focusing on iteration instead of focusing on like strict black or white rules helps you shift behaviors a little at a time. So for home cooking, iteration can look like shifting from eating 30% of your meals out to eating 25% of your meals out. It can look like testing out an idea by buying a small induction plate instead of an entire range. It can look like testing out restaurant supply stores, or even doing something very small and specific, like deciding I'm going to stop buying tortillas and just make them at home. Just like you don't have to go full vegan to add a few more plant-based meals into your diet, you don't have to never buy anything again to slowly make changes to a lower impact lifestyle. There's a million different sliders you can tweak to meet your needs and goals. There's no one right way, there's no perfect. There is only practicing de-intensifying our needs and expectations. Even if that's just down to helping those around you slow down and think more critically and kindly about all of our shopping decisions. But what do you think? Is low-buy tiptoeing into diet culture territory? Is a skill building approach a useful way to talk about underconsumption? And what skills have you been building lately? OGs on this channel will know that I'm going back to like the early days of this channel. My very first approach to YouTube was talking head. So I feel like I'm really connecting with my roots. I'm also going to be turning this into written essay form on my Patreon and Substack, so you can support me in either of those places. Okay, bye.